let's go get ready on this.
Welcome back to the arcade. Tonight we're going to start part 5 of our Atari Star Wars cabinet repair. And now that we got the bottom on and we got our leg levelers and wheels on, now it's time to do the little stuff on the cabinet. Basically we're going to have to fix the corners where we have some broken wood and some missing wood, like right here. And over here we just got a little chip off the corner right here, and of course the T-molding has been busted out, but a little swelling here and a little cracking from some water damage. This whole cabinet has soaked up a little bit of water, because if you look at the T-molding here, if I can get it to focus in, you can see that I got a little bit of a gap on both sides of the T-molding. Since I'm not doing a full cabinet restore and I'm not planning on sanding the sides down and replacing the side art, I'm going to let it go, because I like to keep my games as original as I can. So I don't have a problem with fixing these issues like this right here. But as far as sanding the sides down and putting new art on, I believe I like the original if I can save it. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to have to go ahead and replace this T-molding. There's no getting around that. That's in pretty bad shape. But I have, when I bought my Star Trek Voyager, and it's been probably 8 years ago, I bought from Outwater Plastics 250 foot of 3/4 inch black T-molding, which is the same thing as used on the Atari cabinets here. So I got plenty of T-molding, so that's not a problem. So let's get started and get set up. First thing I'm going to have to do is take this old T-molding off so we can get access to these corners here on this top piece, but I'm going to try something a little different on the bottom. So let's get set up, and I'll jack this cabinet up so we can get to the bottom, and I'll show you what I mean about the bottom. Okay, first I'm going to start on this, let's see, the right hand back corner, and as you can see, this wood has split, and of course this is particle board, and it's splintered up and it's real loose in there. The outside here is just scraped on the edge, so that's not a big concern right now, but I could just go ahead and knock this piece out and clean all this loose wood up and just go ahead and put all Bondo back in here. But I'm going to try something, and if it don't work, I can always go back and cut it out. So I'm going to try what I did on the front kick plate. First, we're just going to dig some of this loose material out of here. Anything that might cause it not to compress back in its original position. And of course we can leave some of it in, because when we put the glue in there, the glue is going to soak it, and if it compresses it tight, then it'll sort of compress it back together, and that's what I'm kind of hoping for, although it looks like we got a chunk missing anyway. So and I'm going to leave the old T-molding on for right now. That'll keep the slot from closing in, and it'll also set my width right here. Like I say, if it don't work, I can always come back and cut this out and go another route, either replace it with another piece of wood or Bondo. So but let's see what we can do with it. Let me get a zoom in a little bit so you can see more of what I'm doing here. I hope that focuses. And like I say, I'm just getting some of these big chunks out. And of course, since this is from water damage, basically, the water soaked in and sort of made the glue sort of come loose and the wood. So when this corner was hit, evidently something must have hit on this corner and caused this to bust out like that. So, all right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and put some wood glue in here. Like I say, this will soak into the wood and bring the wood's integrity back. That's the thought behind it anyway. And then if it glues up good and solid, that'll give us a better base to whatever we have left to fill over. We can fill it over with Bondo and it'll sand it down. Okay, so now what I need to do is get my wax paper. And since I'm not putting any glue on this side, I don't really need any on this side. So I'm not going to need a very big piece. And I probably don't even need this outer board on the edge, but I'm going to put it on there anyway. Because we're probably going to have to wind up sanding some of this down and then repainting the corner edge of it. So now I just want to tighten the clamp down. And that should be plenty. And we'll let that dry and see what happens. Now we're going to go over to the other side. And I believe we can do the same thing with that side. Okay, as you can see on this side, we have a little bit of breakout, a little bit along the edge right here. I ought to be able to put a little bit of glue right here and fold this vinyl back down on it. And we have quite a bit of wood broken loose on the inside part here. So we're going to do basically the same thing, sandwich it between two pieces of wood, glue it down, and then let it dry. Okay, basically the same thing here. I'm going to try to dig out a little bit of the loose wood. And this has a little bit of deeper breakout right there. I think what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go ahead and take this T-molding loose and see what it looks like. And definitely it's swollen in here, so I'm gonna cut a little groove in here so that I can put glue in here, and also when I compress it, it'll be able to compress back to its normal size. Of course, if you take too much out, then you won't have nothing for it to compress to. So you have to kind of guess at how much wood to take out to bring it back to its normal size. And even if it doesn't quite come all the way back to its normal size, we can always go ahead and sand it down. Oh yeah, that's all eaten up pretty good there. Probably gonna have to put a lot of Bondo in this. Yeah, that just fell right out. Huh. That might be a little too far gone. I might have to recreate that with Bondo. So, I still might be able to glue it back and then finish it with Bondo. Like I say, if it don't work, I can always cut it out and do the whole thing over again. So what have I got to lose? Just a little bit of time, that's all. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and put some glue in here. And again, I'm hoping that the glue is going to soak into the wood and stabilize it a little bit. Try to keep it off the T-molding. Because I'm going to try something with that T-molding I've never done before either. Put some glue on this edge here. All right, first thing I'm going to do is put some wax paper on the T-molding and put the T-molding back in its slot. That should keep the T-molding from gluing or gluing the T-molding to the wood. All right. Now I'll take some more wax paper and glue that all over that. And again, put this wood here. slide this wood down to meet up with that. This is when you need a bunch of hands. Okay. Get it kind of started. And something just ain't right here. What's it not doing? Okay, come on. Let's try this again. I just lost my wax paper. Okay. I might have to put another clamp on this one if I can get it on there. Okay, be better if I come in this way. This will be an interesting one to see what happens. Well, it feels like it compressed it in pretty good. It's definitely compressed it against the T-molding. So, we'll come back in 24 hours and we'll see what it looks like. Well, while we're waiting for the glue to dry on the bottom corners, let's go ahead and see what we got to do to the top corners. First, let's go ahead and get rid of this T-molding. Okay. Looks like they had another nail in it right here that they missed when they were putting the original bottom on. Okay, yeah, you can see the nail hole there and the nail hole there. I already pulled that one out. Now I got to pull that one out. And this is factory T-molding. I'm pretty certain of it. And as you can see where they went around the corner, it's weird. It looks like they notched the top of the molding there, but I got a sneaky suspicion that that's just tore from because we had that gap on this right here where a chunk of T-molding was missing. When they put this in, they didn't even notch it. They just, I guess, forced it in with a mallet. So nowadays, though, when we install T-molding, we have to put the notches in it, mainly because the groove in the T-molding is so loose that the new T-molding just don't fit in it. Now, I don't know whether it's the fact that the new T-molding is made thinner. I'd have to put some calibers on that barb to compare between the old and the new. But if I put this piece of new in the old groove, well, it's loosey-goosey. So we're going to have to address that too when we get ready to install the new T-molding. Alright, let's take this top piece, and the old is even loose. It's not really tight fitting, and when you pull it out, of course, all that sawdust is coming out from the particle board being so old, and I'm sure it's probably had moisture wicked down in it. Same thing right here. This little piece right here on the corner is sort of rotten. So probably, since so much of this is still intact, even though it's kind of spongy there, I might dig that out and go ahead and just I might put some wood hardener in there first and let it soak in the wood, and then come back and bondo it, and then cut the new groove in that corner right there. And of course, down here we got this place here, so we're going to have to cut this down to good wood and fill that back in too. So let's take a look at the other side. The other side is in worse shape. So let me move over here and let's take a look at that. Okay, well, this is the corner that's really in the worst shape. So let's go ahead and pull this T-molding off. Sort of get it down here out the way. And as you can see, we got a chunk missing out of here. This whole chunk right here is missing, and this piece is just sitting there. So probably going to dig all this out down to good wood and go ahead and bondo this corner back up. I've been looking at a few videos of how people do this, since I've never really done any bondo work on an arcade cabinet, believe it or not, after all these years. I have used bondo in automotive body work, and also used it on, believe it or not, had some baseboards on our old house where we used to live, had a little bit of rot in one little spot. Rather than replace the board, because the house was so old, they didn't cut that size of boards. You'd have to get new boards milled at the lumber mill. So we just went ahead and cleaned it out and put bondo in it, and it's after you painted it, you never could tell it had any damage to it, and it's still just like new today. So bondo is some amazing stuff. Okay, so I think that's basically what we're going to have to do here. Is go ahead and see where it's split right there too. And get all that old bad wood out of there. And as you can see, See how it's pulling out right there? I'll probably put some wood hardener in there and then clamp this together to where it's the right thickness and let that set up before I put any Bondo in there. It doesn't do any good to put Bondo on wood that's flaking apart. So you have to get all the old wood out of there and give it some good wood and a good surface to adhere to. That's the key to Bondo. If you put Bondo on a piece of wood that's flaking, then you're going to have no strength because it's going to stick to that outer edge of it, and then it'll just pull away from the bad wood. Like I say, that's the trick to Bondo. You got to have good wood for it to adhere to, or you're just wasting your time. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and clean all this out and probably put some wood hardener on there and clamp it down a little bit and let it sit up to prepare it for Bondo. Okay, well, we're going to have to cut out the dead wood in this section right here. I don't know what happened to it. It almost looks like, well, something gouged it, I guess. They must have set it down on something that was sharp and sticking up on the floor. Maybe a nail or something. But anyway, I already took the sander and sanded this edge right here. And as you can see, I got bare wood on either side of it now, because it had a little bit of swell from water swelling it up on the bottom edge here. So I sanded it flat. So now I'm going to take my Dremel, which I have a cutting tip on here for cutting, engraving. It cuts on the side as well as on the end. So we ought to be able to get all this old wood out of here so that we can get it ready for Bondo. So let me zoom in on it here. And let's go ahead and take care of this old wood. Okay, that should be enough. And what I plan to do is, before we put Bondo in here, I'm gonna put some wood hardener in here and let it soak in real good. And even though it feels good and hard there now, so I got good hard wood to Bondo. And we may even, some people, if you got a big hunk out of here, I've seen people put screws in there so that the Bondo will fill in around the head of the screw and help give the Bondo something to anchor onto. What I might do is I might drill in here and put some wood pegs in here. It's just something to give the Bondo something to adhere to in the center here. Almost like if you're going to pour concrete, and to make concrete stronger, you know, you put rebar in it or wire fence in a sidewalk or whatever. So we're going to add probably some little wood dowels in here just to give the Bondo a little extra help to grab onto. Okay, up here on these corners, I've also dug out all the loose wood. This corner had not quite as bad, but it still has a pretty good void in here, and it's sort of a little spongy and separating a little bit. So anyway, we're going to deal with that too. Same thing on this side. There we go. As you can see, I had to cut out quite a bit here, and rather deep in there too. So we're going to fill all that up with Bondo, and we'll probably do the same thing. Drill some holes in here and put some wooden pegs in here to give the Bondo something to adhere to. Now, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to use wood hardener, and I'm going to put wood hardener in here to harden it up. And what I've done, I've cut me some blocks of wood, and I've cut the profile of the cabinet on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clamp this on here, and I have another one for the outside, and we're going to clamp it on the outside, and then I'm going to squeeze it together so that it'll squeeze up this gap a little bit. And then I'm going to put the wood hardener in there and let it harden up before we Bondo. And because the wood hardener I'm going to use is Minwax, it has a solvent in it. I believe it's ketone, which is similar to acetone, I guess. And it has a rosin in it, which is rosin like is in epoxy. And what it does, it soaks into the wood, and that rosin soaks in with the ketone, and it quickly evaporates, leaving behind the hard epoxy, or actually the rosin, and that strengthens the wood and supposedly hardens the wood. So what I've done here, because it's a solvent, you can't put wax paper on it because it'll just dissolve the wax paper. So what I did was I took my wood and I covered it in this aluminum duct tape, and this is the stuff right here. You peel off the backing, and it's got a sticky back. It's aluminum. It's used to seal joints on ductwork for heating and air conditioning ducts. And you know, so I haven't tried it, but I think even Bondo probably won't stick to it since it's aluminum. Even if it does, we can always sand it off. So it's an experiment. We're going to try it and see if it works. If it don't work, we'll never do it again. But you never know till you try. So to keep the hardener from soaking in to my wood that I'm going to use here to sandwich this in, that's why I went ahead and put that aluminum on it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and set this up, and then we'll get the wood hardener out and see what we can do. Okay, well, let's go ahead and set the first one up here. And we're just gonna set this right on here. It lines up flush with the bottom, and it's already been cut and sanded flush with the top right here. So this one is pretty much a no-brainer. Then we got this one here that we're gonna put on the outside, and we just have to line that up. So I'm just gonna put this small one back here just to hold it in place and get this one lined up first. And then I'll put this one on. Just want to make sure it's lined up with the front right here. And this one should go back just a hair. Okay, that's better. Now, as I'm squeezing this together, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but it's actually pulling this board or the side of the cabinet together, making this T-molding crack smaller. And that's what I want to do. I want to pull it together tight, because all these years that T-molding has been pushing, spreading this wood apart. And with all the moisture in the air, and probably had a little bit of water that seeped down once upon a time here, which has caused the wood fibers, the glue in the wood fibers, to loosen up, and that's just caused it to spread apart even more. So hopefully this is going to push it back together, and when we put that hardener in here, that hardener is going to penetrate down in that wood and cause that wood to tighten up. That's the thought behind it. Whether that's what happens, I don't know, but we're going to give it a try. Okay, so we'll put one on the end right here, and then we can squeeze this corner together right here. You can see it squeezing together. And if we have to come back, we're going to have to come back and recut the groove anyway, anywhere we fill it in, but we might not have to touch this groove here. And if it pulled it together a little bit too close, then yeah, we might have to go ahead and cut it a little bit. I'm trying to see, I had a piece of T-molding here somewhere. It's over here. And this is new T-molding. And yeah, look how tight that goes in. I could probably drive it in with the mallet. It's holding real tight. So if this works out, that's going to be great. The wood is still going to be a little bit wider than the T-molding. I could probably try to squeeze it even more, I guess. But I don't want to squeeze it too much. It is what it is. The wood has expanded a little bit. So I'm not going to worry too much about it. If I worried that much about it, then I'd go ahead and sand the sides down and make it the right size and put new art on it, but I'm not going to do that. Okay, so this side is done. Ready for the hardener to go in here. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side, even though the other side I really didn't create this rounded edge yet. Because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put regular blocks on the other side, so I can put the hardener in here and let the hardener set up and get hard. And once I fill this in with Bondo and sand it down, then I'll take these blocks and move them over to the other side, so that I'll have the exact same profile as the other side, rather than have to create another whole profile. I want it to, you know, be as close as you can get it. So, all right, I'll go ahead and set up the other side, and then we'll get the wood hardener out and take a look at that. Okay, well, I found two types of wood hardener. At Lowe's, I found Elmer's rotted wood stabilizer, and it's white, looks like Elmer's glue. I haven't opened it up to see the consistency. I would imagine it's like watered down Elmer's glue. And then Minwax, high performance wood hardener. And this stuff here is very flammable. It has a ketone in it as the base, and like I say, it has rosin that soaks into the wood fibers and makes them hard. I don't know what the Elmer's is. It might be some type of rosin. It doesn't really say. It does say it's for interior or exterior use, and it says almost the same thing the Minwax does. You can use it on window exterior trim, window sashes, window sills, flooring, doors, picture frames, furniture, wood siding, fence post, etc. So I got a piece of particle board here, and we're just going to try a little bit of each on here to see how it soaks up. So let's see if I can zoom in here. And let's see what it does. Let's try the Elmers first. And I'm just gonna put a little bit on here if I can get the top off. Almost seem to be stuck here. All right, let's see. Let me go ahead and just put some on here. And it just looks like watered down Elmer's glue. Actually, don't even really be watered down that much. We'll put some right on the wood grain and some up on the top. Now we'll take the Minwax wood hardener, and I put that in a squeeze bottle. Make it a little easier. It says to brush it on, but I'm just gonna put some on here, and it is definitely running. Now the Minwax, it says that you're supposed to put it on in, let's see, application. Shake can well, apply hardener with a disposable bristle brush to the softened wood to completely saturate the area. For strength, apply several coats in quick succession until a shiny surface appears. Allow to harden 2 to 4 hours before filling void with Minwax high performance wood filler. Okay, so 2 to 4 hours is supposed to be dry. The Elmers, that says apply Elmer's rotted wood stabilizer thoroughly to repaired area. Dry time will vary with temperatures and humidity conditions. Allow prepared area to dry overnight for best results. Note, when treating a rotted wood section with Elmer's rotted wood stabilizer, protect the surrounding area with masking tape or plastic to prevent Elmer's rotted wood stabilizer from penetrating these areas. Clean up all excess liquid from area not requiring treatment. Allow the treatment area to completely dry before applying Elmer's epoxy wood repair or painting. Okay, so there we have it. Which one should we use? Well, it looks like the Minwax, in this case, is going to be the winner. It is just totally penetrating the wood and drying fast, and I think that's what I want. Now, is it going to cause any swelling of the wood? I don't know, but I'm really not concerned about that because I am sandwiching the wood and clamping it down, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. So anyway, we'll compare this, come back to it in 24 hours and see what this looks like. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and use the Minwax hardener and treat these top corners and the T-molding along the edge here. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, well, I'm going to take this and I'm going to go ahead and just start applying it. First, I'm going to squirt it right down here. And I have covered the areas with some more of this aluminum tape just to protect the areas that I don't want to really get anything on. And I'm squirting it down in this T-molding groove. So hopefully that's going to stiffen that up too. And it's just soaking it right up. Great. That's kind of what I was hoping it would do. And the squeeze bottle is working pretty good too. I can kind of, if I don't fill it all the way up, I can tilt it and just squeeze it when I want it. Now it does put off some fumes, like I say, and so you have to be very careful about using this in a well ventilated area. I have the door here, the sliding door, cracked open. I got the air conditioner set on bringing in fresh air, so it's directly opposite this, so hopefully it's going to just create a suction that's going to pull this out, because I don't want fumes to build up in here, because I do have a hot water heater here with a pilot light. So we definitely don't want any flammable fumes in here, that's for sure. Okay. Alright, well, while that's soaking in, let's go ahead and put some on the other side. Basically the same thing. This piece of wood here isn't as long as the one on the other side, so I'm only going to go this far with it, and that's okay. And if this works good on this end, I may pull all the T-molding off and do the same thing in small sections. Just go ahead and squeeze the T-molding groove back together and put this stuff in there and let it harden up. I think that will probably work pretty good. And don't worry if you see any spilling. I done put down protection on the floor, so I'm not going to have to worry about that. I do want to put some in this side here. I'm going to have to figure out something on that, but I'll do that too. I might do that with a brush. Okay, well, you get the idea. We're just going to go ahead and apply several more treatments of this until we get that shiny look they're talking about, and then we'll just let it dry, and then we'll come back and see how it turned out. Okay, well, the verdict is still out, but I've finished putting the Minwax wood hardener in the grooves in the edge of the cabinet here, and on our test piece here, as you can see, the Minwax is soaked in pretty good, and it's got kind of a shiny gleam to it. The Elmers rotted wood stabilizer just looks like Elmer's glue, and it's just sitting on the wood. Doesn't look like it's really soaking in all that good. So I would have to say that it looks like Minwax is going to be the winner here. If we look at what I've already prepped here, as you can see, it's been penetrated into the wood and darkened it up and has a kind of a gleam to it, even though it's not dry yet. And also put some clamps on across the bottom to pull the T-molding groove in a little bit tight here, so that ought to tighten up the T-molding groove if it holds. I still don't know if it's going to hold yet or not. And as you can see, the crack here is pulled together pretty good, and we also got a good soaking of this corner, and we also down here where we cut out this piece in the side of the cabinet here, and with the light on you can see it kind of gleaming there. So I believe it's going to work pretty good. So we're going to let that dry, and then we'll come back and see what it looks like. Well, I figured since I was using the wood hardener, I might as well get it all over with right away. Even though we may do some more of the T-molding grooves later on. But I'm also going to, the front kick panel here, if you remember, we glued the bottom edge here where it had some wood, and the decal was coming loose along the bottom edge from the water damage here. And it's not too bad. It's got a little bit of wood flaking off on this corner, but the rest of it is in fair condition. But I'm going to go ahead and Bondo this corner. So I figured I'd go ahead, since it's a little rough right here, it needs to be smoothed down so that we can put the screws, when we put this front panel back in it, it'll sit flat against the front bottom of the cabinet. So I'm going to go ahead and sand this down flat, and then go ahead and put some wood hardener on it and let it soak in, just to stiffen this wood up a little bit. Okay, well that should be good enough. Didn't take much. It just had a little bit of swelling on that edge. So now this will be nice and smooth right here, and it'll meet up right to the edge of the bottom of the cabinet like it should. So, mainly I just need a little bit in this area right here, but I may go ahead and spread a little bit along this edge here. Let's see, let me get one of my pads so I can put down here in case I drip any. Just lay this on the floor. And we're just going to go ahead and let some of it soak into the wood here. It's not going to do much to that vinyl right there, but it'll soak into the wood. And that's mainly what we want it to do. And I'm going to go ahead and let it soak along the edge here too, so that that end will soak it up. And it'll harden up that bottom so it won't flake away. Okay, well I'm going to give it several coats here, and then we'll just let everything dry. Well, it's actually been a week now since I put the wood hardener on the cabinet. Just haven't had a chance to get back out here. So it's had plenty of time to dry. So let's take a look at the wood here. This is where I put the Minwax hardener on this piece of particle board. And try to get it in the camera here if you can see. It darkened the wood up a little bit and kind of gave it a gleam, a shine to it. And it is absolutely hard. The Elmers product, I guess it's not bad. It dried and hardened the surface, but I don't think it really penetrated the wood that good. And up here we had a big glob, and you can feel it, and it's pretty hard, and it's clear, and you can see the wood grain through it. It'll seal the wood, but I don't think it really penetrates into it. So if you have wood that's just a little flaky on the surface, you could probably get by with the Elmer's rotted wood stabilizer. But if you got wood that's severely water damaged and you want deep penetration, go with the Minwax. Well, as you can see on this right-hand front corner, we actually pulled the T-molding groove almost all the way together. So we're going to have to cut that out again. And it's penetrated the wood, like I say, real good. It's good and hard and solid. So we ought to be able to bondo that up with no problem. And looks the same over here. All the wood is definitely been hardened up. We pulled the crack together a lot tighter, and hopefully that wood hardener penetrated down in that wood. And once I release the clamps, I'm hoping that it's going to retain the rigidity that and going to be in the same position. If not, then well, we'll just have to, make do with the way it is. But hopefully it's been tightened it up, and you can see right here the T-molding groove is pulled together completely right here. So that means that the T-molding will actually fit better on this wood because it had swollen out pretty good. So anyway, the only concern I have now is that wood hardener penetrates so good. I got some on my wood here, even though I had this aluminum you know, the aluminum duct tape, I guess it is, on the outside of it. I'm wondering if that aluminum is stuck to the wood cabinet side now. So that's my only concern. So let's go ahead. I'll put the camera on a tripod here and take these clamps loose, and let's see if we can get these wood blocks off the side and see how stiff it made it. Okay, well, first I'm going to take these clamps off the side here. And these were just here to try to close in the T-molding groove here, because we, you know, saturated that too. Okay. Let's go ahead and take these clamps off first. And find out if this is going to be stuck or not. And hey, look at there, it didn't stick. But it looks shiny there, so I believe it did got in between it there. All right, let's see about this outer one here. Will this one come off? Okay, yeah. No problem. Looks good. And that looks good and solid. I believe that really did a number on that wood there. Okay, that's great. All right, well, now I guess we can set up and get ready for Bondo. I guess the first thing I'm going to do is prepare this piece here, and we'll go ahead and we'll be able to Bondo this little section right in here, and then we'll move over to the other side. So let's get this one done. Okay, well, I just opened up my can of Bondo, and I guess I've had it a little bit too long. I don't remember when I bought it, but it's been gone bad on me. It's been gotten hard. So I'm going to have to get some new Bondo. So we won't be doing any Bondoing tonight, but what I can do is go ahead and put my wood dowels in that I'm going to put in here. We're going to start with this piece that had the big gouge in it right here. And we'd already soaked it with wood hardener. And I went to the local craft store, Michael's, and got a pack of wooden dowels. And these are real small wooden dowels, about the size of a toothpick, and they're round. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole. I already drilled a test hole in this block of wood right here. Put a little bit of glue on it and shove it in the hole, and that glue will dry. And then you'll have a peg in there to give the Bondo something to adhere to. So just going to drill, put maybe about 3 in here. Put 1 here and 1 here and 1 here. Just something to, like I say, to give the Bondo something to grab onto. So I'm going to take my drill. I already got the right drill bit in it for the size wood dowel. So I'm just going to put 1 right here. And I don't want to put it where I'm going to cut the T-molding slot. I just want it, on the back side of the T-molding slot. So I'll put 1 about right here. And another one about up here. And what the heck, I'll put 1 more in the middle. Okay. Now I'm going to take some of my regular Tybond or Tight Bond wood glue and put some on a little screwdriver, because I don't want to get the wood glue on the inside surface here. I just want to get it inside the hole. Okay, and we'll put a little bit on the tip of the wood dowel here. And just shove them in. Okay, now I'll just come back and I'll cut these off below the edge of the wood, and that'll give us something for the Bondo to stick to. Okay, well, I'm going to do the same thing up on the top corner. I probably won't need one up here on this top corner right here, because it's not really that much there. But I don't know, I could put one in there. But anyway, this is basically how I'm going to do it. And once I get all these in, I'll give you a quick little look at the finished product.
For us to the radio, Hardener.